Hey guys, the question this week is, do we seek to live in knowledge or do we seek to live in mystery? And we're going to be in Acts chapter 5 today, and we're going to look at two different groups. These are opposing groups. And one group were the religious leaders of their day. And their greatest desire, the thing they valued most, was to live in knowledge, because in knowledge, they were in control. What do I mean by living in knowledge? What it means is you're uncomfortable with mystery. You set up parameters based on your understanding of God, and God becomes only what you can wrap your head around. Now, there's another group. They were not the religious leaders of their day. They were the persecuted Christians. And their greatest desire, what they valued most, was the mystery of God. They had just seen Jesus rise from the dead. They understood that God is infinite. They would never be able to wrap their heads around him. But what they valued most was the mystery of relationship. Religion pursues knowledge. Relationship pursues mystery. Something new all the time. It's dynamic. It's living. So let's look at these two different groups in Acts chapter 5. So the apostles are going around. They're healing people. They're talking to people about Jesus. And it says the Sadducees, the priests, the high priest, they've met together and they're filled with jealousy. That's Acts chapter 5, verse 17. They arrest the apostles. They put them in jail. Here's the story. It says, an angel of the Lord came at night, opened the gates of the jail, and brought them out. Then he told them, go to the temple, which is, by the way, where the priests meet up, and give the people this message of life. So at daybreak, the apostles go back to the temple and do as they were told and immediately begin teaching. Now, if it was me and I just been put in jail, the angel comes, frees me from jail, but then tells me to go back to the place where the people are who put me in jail, I might raise my hand and go, hey, can we just time out for a second? Is that the wisest thing to do? I don't understand it. I can't wrap my brain around what you're asking me to do. This doesn't make sense. It's a mystery. But the apostles had learned. They used to ask questions, but now they were saying, I don't get it. I don't know what's going to happen to us. In fact, we could even get beaten, which is what happens. But God has told us to go somewhere into the unknown, and that's what we desire more than anything. Now get this. This next day, the high priest and the priests say, all right, guards, bring the apostles that we threw in jail overnight in here. Let's put them on trial. Let's talk to them. Verse 24, when the captain of the temple guard and the leading priests heard that the apostles were no longer in jail, though they didn't yet know where they were perplexed, wondering where it would all end. This is verse 24. They were perplexed, wondering where it would all end. Do you see, as simple as that verse is, that this is the core of their issue? They could not live with the perplexion. They could not live with the not knowing. They could not live with the not understanding. This Jesus comes into their world. They get jealous. They get scared. They're scared they're going to lose control. They're going to lose their place. They don't know what the future is going to look like. Here's the deal. If they had just trusted in the mystery of Jesus and the thing they didn't understand and in the person who did not fit in their box that they couldn't wrap their brains around, then guess what? Those priests would have had this incredible experience with Jesus, this incredible relationship with Jesus. They would have gone on with the apostles to radically change the world and bring the love of God to everybody around them. Instead, they've essentially been forgotten. They're an afterthought. They don't even have their names in here. They're just called the high priest and the priest, because what they valued most was understanding what was going to happen. Understanding what was happening around them. It says they were perplexed, wondering where it would all end. Do we not do that often? I know I've done that most of my life. I have spent most of my life, at least in here in my brain, with the wheels spinning, thinking, where is this all going to end? God, where are you taking me? God, what are you doing in my life? God, Have you heard my prayers? Like, I would really like for you to heal my daughter. Or why do both of my daughters, two of my three daughters, have these medical conditions? Or God, I have a strong desire to do this in ministry or this in business. When are you ever going to open doors for that? Tons of questions. And every time there are questions, I want answers. And usually the questions and the answers that I want relate to, of course, what I don't understand and where he's taking me in life, where we're going in life. And what God is saying to us is, as long as you, Billy, as long as we value knowledge over mystery, then what we're really doing is propping ourselves up as God. What we're really doing is saying, I need to be in control. I need to live in a world that I can wrap my brain around. I need to live in a world in which I understand the parameters clearly. And if anything takes me outside of that, it is too uncomfortable because I'm out of control. Now let's look at the apostles. Of course, they go out and they preach, and the priests arrest them. It says in verse 33 that the high council was furious with them and decided to kill them. But then one of the Pharisees comes along, Gamaliel, and he says, now time out. Maybe we should not interfere. For some reason, we don't know much about him, but Gamaliel, he is valuing the mystery over knowledge. Understand that if they go ahead and kill the apostles, then they stay in control in their minds. That they've drawn a box by killing the apostles so they don't ever have to wonder what's going to happen to these apostles, right? They would feel in killing the apostles that they are determining the future. But Gamaliel says, wait, do we really believe in God, guys? Because if we believe in God, even if we go and kill these guys, God's going to still accomplish what God's going to accomplish. So why don't we let them go? Why don't we allow the mystery to play out and see where it takes us? In fact, in verse 38 and 39, he says, if they're planning on doing these things merely on their own, it will soon be overthrown. But if it's from God, you'll not be able to overthrow them. You may even find yourselves fighting against God. And that's what we do when we value living in knowledge over living in the mystery. Because we prop ourselves up as God. Now, nobody's going to actually say, yes, I want to live in knowledge because I want to be God. But what I have done most of my life, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. I know my story. I don't know yours. But what I have done most of my life is I've said, God, I need to know all the details, and I need to know them now, or I'm not going to sleep well at night, and I'm not going to be comfortable. And by the way, if somebody starts talking about something that I don't understand, whether it's about God or about life or whatever it might be, I'm really uncomfortable. Because anytime you start trying to take me out of the box I've set up in which I feel comfortable in life, of course, hello, that's what we call typically outside your comfort zone. But God is inviting us outside our comfort zone with Him into the mystery, because in that mysterious place, He's in control. In that mysterious place, He is God. In that mysterious place, He can do extraordinary things, supernatural things. Let me end with this story. Last night, I took my 11-year-old daughter, Savannah, to a worship event. It was 2 hours of worship. And we get in the car afterwards, and she says to me, Daddy, I've got to tell you a story. During worship, this has never happened before. During worship, I had a vision. And I saw that God, the Father, was waiting outside a house for me somewhere, and I had run away from Him. And He was so sad that I'd run away from Him, Daddy. And I saw myself say, Papa, I'm coming home. And I was broken and I was dirty. But I started walking back towards Him, and He started walking towards me, and we hugged, and He held me, and I felt Him forgive me, and it was so beautiful. And then Savannah, we had a 2.5-hour drive home, and Savannah just started sobbing. She started crying. Initially, she was crying both over the love of God, but also the fact she'd run away from Him. Eventually, it just became crying because of His love, which is pouring over in wave after wave. And she had 3 more visions, just her in heaven on God's lap, being loved by Him. And she said, She was just lying there, with the seat back. As I drove, I was holding one of her hands. Her other hand was up in the air. She was saying, he loves me, he loves me, he loves me. Listen, if there's no presence, if there's no experience, if we don't allow space for the mystery, we'll only ever know what we know. We'll only ever know what we know, and we're not God, so that's not very much. But if we allow space for the mystery, if we desire the mystery, if we value the mystery over all else, then God has an opportunity to surprise us. We had no idea that was going to happen between God and Savannah last night. She certainly didn't. I didn't. God has an opportunity to surprise us, to meet us, to speak to us, and to allow us to know him in a completely new way. And that's the life I want to live.